A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Thank you for taking the time to tune in. Jam 316. It's Tuesday, Parenting Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we talk about issues parenting. And today we want to continue with the conversation that we've been having for quite some time. And it's an important conversation because we need to have it. We must have it. And we must be the ones as parents to steer this conversation, talking about the education of our children. I believe one of the areas that's really been hit hard with the COVID-19 pandemic is the education sector. And it's almost like we are groping in the dark. We really don't know what to do. We are just waiting to see how things will go. And it's very interesting because, you know, the playing field is not normal when you really think about it. There are those children who are going on with their education, those who are doing maybe the British system or those who are doing homeschooling, them they've continued. You know, they've done exams, they've closed. There are those who are waiting, wondering whether is it going to be January next year or is it going to be even further. And so it's a situation where we can't just sit back as parents and wait to see liwe liwalo. No, we have to engage in conversations. I think for me, it's an opportunity for us to scrutinize our education system. Is it the best? Can we improve it? What can be done now? That's the conversation I want us to have this morning. And so I'm throwing the question to you, especially if you are a parent. What thoughts are you having concerning the education of your children? If you're not having any thoughts and you're waiting for liwe liwalo, that's a dangerous place to be. And that's why I want us to have this serious conversation this morning. I will be introducing you to our guest today, somebody who's very passionate about education, and I believe she will give us some thoughts and ideas on the way forward. So today we talk about the future of education in this country. Talk to me. Your SMS is coming through on 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. And today we look at the future of education in this country, and I'm asking for your thoughts about education, especially if you are a parent, because this is one of the areas that's really been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. In studio today via Zoom, I'm joined by a lady who's very passionate about education, and she is the director of Gifted Hands School. She is a wife, she is a mother of 2 grown-up kids. Tabitha Ogango, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Pastor James. Good to see you.
Good to have you on board this morning. Karibu sana.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me begin by asking you the question I'm asking everybody. As a mother,
Yes.
as a person who's passionate about education, with everything that's happening with education in the country today, what are some things you are thinking?
All right. I mean, as a mother, as an educator, I mean, one of the things I've had to think is how to keep the learning process going on, because I mean, putting a stop to it is definite regression.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had to really think, how do I enable my own children and the children who are in my care, and then the children that are within my circle of influence, you know, in my family and with my friends. How do I get parents to understand that it is not a good thing to just stop learning?
Yeah.
But, you know, some form of learning must keep going on, because that is how education is set up. It's a process, you know, so you can't just stop in the middle and hope to pick it up at another time.
Okay.
You know, so that's right on top of my head, and knowing the different, you know, the variety of the landscape of the parents and families and children, you know, just thinking, you know, how do we encourage everybody not to think that it is okay to just sit and play and not continue engaging academically, even in the smallest way.
Okay. I notice you say it is not good to stop learning. And I'm thinking, are we looking at things from 2 perspectives? Because there's the whole aspect of going to school, and then there's the aspect of learning. We are saying schools have been closed, we have lost a year. But I'm wondering, what's the difference between the two?
Well, in fact, it's very interesting that you bring that up, Pastor James, because for me, there's a very big difference between schooling and learning. You know, I mean, schooling facilitates learning, but schooling is not learning, and schooling must never be confused for learning. Because a lot of learning goes on and can go on even when schools are shut.
Okay.
You know, so that's a whole issue of terminologies there that people must, you know, distill and stop feeling like because school is not on, then learning is not going on.
Yes.
Because schooling is just the process of going to school, and it has its objectives. Actually, I don't think it is. I think it is indispensable. I think just the aspect of school needs to be protected. Schools need to be protected. The institution, it's a haven of safety for children, a place to grow. It's very important in the growth life.
Yes.
But then it is not learning, and so I am talking about learning, and whether it is learning the other skills that would be learnt at home, but also learning academically, or going through material that has been offered academically. I'm saying that needs to continue even when children are not going to school physically.
Okay. One of the key words in this season is a new normal. We are having to learn a new normal about anything. New normal is to put on a mask. New normal is you sit alone like you're sitting in a limousine in number 3 on your own seat. New normal is we are careful about how we're interacting. But I'm wondering, have we considered and are we thinking about a new normal in our education and the way we do education in this country? Because to me, it almost seems like we are waiting for this thing to iende kule ilitoka, we go back to what we used to do. Should we be thinking about a new normal?
It's very unfortunate if anyone is not thinking about a new normal, because truly, in every sector, things have changed forever.
Yes.
I mean, really, it's never going to go back to what it was before. And so, there is the whole issue of digitizing education. And there's the whole issue of decongesting schools, because that was never a good thing in the first place. So even without the virus, I go back to the schools I went to, and a room where we would board 4 people in a room, I find there are 8 or 10.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, this is not correct. This is not how you socialize your children. So there are a lot of things that this whole pandemic has brought to the fore, that we all must stop and say, this is how we were doing it, but was it really the right thing to be doing?
Yes. Do parents have a voice in this conversation? Because it seems like parents are silent. We are waiting to see what the government will come up with. It's like we are helpless, waiting for schools to open for the children to go back to school. We go back to, just how things were. Do we have a voice and do we recognize as parents that we are stakeholders in the education sector?
Even before the pandemic, for me, James, I have always said that the missing link in this country in education has been the parents' voice.
Okay.
Even when, children do exams and then results come out, and then we seem to celebrate a certain caliber of children, and we seem to, ride on the bandwagon to dismiss a whole majority, sometimes 90%, and call them failures. And parents jump onto that bandwagon, So for me, I think the parents' voice, this is the time for the parents' voice to come out. And for parents to stop and think again. And much as parents want to say, what is the government doing and all that, it is actually time that parents stopped and thought, what is it I want for my child? And what is the best way to get that going? And that is why, like you rightfully said, many parents who chose to homeschool had those conversations many years ago.
Yes.
Many parents who chose maybe, other ways of educating outside what the government was offering already had those difficult conversations. And they had to make difficult decisions, even when the government sometimes wasn't supportive of what they're doing. But now, clearly, they seem to have had it right all along. And so for me, I would be calling out for the parents who've never paused to think in this area, to start thinking, what can they learn, from those others who thought about these processes and were already engaging in terms of, what are the educational goals for my children? what is the best way to bring them out? I mean, if my child doesn't get maths, I mean, is that a point of contention to the point that we all brand him, a failure and stupid and break him? And yet God created this child with a definite purpose, and God put gifts and talents in this child that would bring them before great kings. But in the education process, we destroy a lot of that. So by the time they finish Form 4, they feel terrible about themselves. They can't start trying and stuff like that. So yes, Pastor James, parents for me have been the missing link. Apart from the hard work they do, pay school fees, they haven't really thought critically about, why am I putting my child through this education process? What are the challenges there? How can I walk beside my child so that they can become everything that God created them to be?
Sometimes I think, and I was having this conversation, I think it was last week or the week, I think it was the week before with someone. And for us parents, we still think education and we still think when we were in school. And this person was referring to the whole issue. You remember the famous song, So Many Vijana? Muongeze bidii. Yes. Mwisho wa kusoma mtapata kazi mzuri sana.
Mtapata kazi nzuri sana.
That one. And this friend of mine was saying, that song, when it was released, it spoke the truth. Yeah. Because jobs were there. You even finish primary school, you can get a clerical job somewhere. But then the narrative changed. And it seems for us who grew up in that era, we are still thinking along those lines. The reason why we take our children to school is not necessarily to get an education, but to get good marks, go to a good campus, pass, and get a good job. Should that narrative change?
But that narrative changed a long time ago. So anybody who is still operating with that narrative is in for a rude shock at the end of the tunnel, when they will discover that sometimes even the job that the child was training for is really no longer, is no longer what it looked like when they started training. I mean, we've got, new courses, and people sometimes don't want to take them up because they're thinking, what's that? Especially parents telling children, what's that? No, do this and that and the other. Then they get at the end of the tunnel and find, oh my goodness, that place is flooded, or that place is not even the way it looked like. And now I am needing to create my own workspace in that place, and I don't know how to do it. I don't have the skills. So yes, I mean, that train left that station and people need to find which station they need.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, this morning we're talking about the future of education in this country. And we want your involvement as a parent, or even if you're not a parent, you have some thoughts, share that with us, 20316 SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786316 Parenting Tuesday, talking about the future of education in this country. Joining us by Zoom, I have educationist, somebody who's passionate about education in this country. Tabitha Ogango is with us via Zoom. I'm getting interesting comments coming through. This one from Dave Ondieki. Dave Ondieki says, that's a wonderful topic today. Very, very important. And he says, I will be a teacher for my children. Wakifika mahali sishiki kitu, that's when I'll employ a qualified teacher. Dave Ondieki, good for you. I had another question. Let me see if I can find it. Someone was saying, where is it? Somebody was saying that, here it is. It's saying that the new normal has shown us that children can learn wholesomely from home. And some of us parents will not be taking back our children to physical schools. Can you talk a bit about homeschooling?
Yes. I mean, that is a comment that, I mean, I run a school, and the minute we transitioned to the digital platform, within 3 weeks, I had several parents calling me and telling me, by the way, if schools are recalled, you better consider having some of us continue with this mode, and maybe only coming in for one or two things, maybe music or something that we really feel we need to come in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, homeschooling has always been a viable option of educating children. Globally, homeschooled children have always done very well, even in the universities and all. The main reason being that their inner man is really protected. School can be rough.
Yes.
School can be very rough.
Yes.
Just the perceptions, you're slow, you're dirty, you're lazy, you're what. And coming from different quarters, not just the teachers, sometimes it's your own peers with the competition and, not very kind words. And so because children are very delicate, there's been times when children are really, really mashed up in school. So I am saying to that parent that homeschooling has been around for so long.
Yeah.
But because of the major preference for schooling, it has always been seen to be like less, like it can't achieve much. But let me say that there are several viable, accredited homeschooling options. So, when you want to homeschool your child, you shouldn't even feel like, will they get a good education?
Yeah.
Will they be okay at the end of the tunnel? The bottom line usually is the parent available to homeschool? Because when you as a parent want to go to work and then you want to hire somebody and you don't know how to manage an education process, that's what then breaks that down. So it's either you are educating your child, because then you know what not to skip over, because you just want to run over it, or a child hasn't understood something. A parent will not fly over it. They can pause it and come back there.
Yeah.
But a hireling, and I'm calling this hireling, somebody that you as a parent has hired, put in the house and you've gone to work, will want to impress you. So they'll keep telling you everything is okay, everything is okay. And what we have seen is that when we receive children from homeschool, quote unquote, who are being, homeschooled by remote, those are very different from those who have been homeschooled properly by parents. So for that parent who asked, there are several homeschooling options. As an educator, my persuasion is that there is no perfect curriculum.
Yeah.
Every curriculum has got its issues that have to be filled up. And so, that's a conversation that he needs to take off cuff. And people have homeschooled using the public curriculum. People have homeschooled using the British curriculum.
Yeah.
People have homeschooled using the various American homeschooling curriculum, including digital ones.
Yes.
So, bravo. Anybody thinking that way, it is a good way to go.
I have a friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine. They actually homeschooled. They have daughters. They homeschooled all their daughters from class 1 to class 8. And only in secondary did they go to a public school. And they did pretty well. Yes. They did pretty well. We keep talking...
I think, Pastor James, let me also say that, yes, that's a very good point you brought up. Homeschooling in the primary section is quite something manageable for any parent who's been to school. But when you get to the high school level, there are certain electives and there's certain content that needs professional input. So, so either you have got the platform to get that support from professionals, or then you have to partner with a school, so that decision would have to be made very clearly.
Okay. We keep talking about how the world has become a global village, and I see even now, small-time business people are being told, don't think small-time. With all these outlets, media outlets that are available online, you can actually sell internationally. Don't look at yourself small. I keep wondering, why is it that we don't think that way when it comes to education? Because isn't the world open to us? Why aren't we considering we also have other options that may be available to us? What do you think about that?
I think now you're getting to the political side of education. Education is a game changer, and people choose to educate their people based on several things. Sometimes it's a matter of control.
Yeah.
If you look at the education that the colonialists brought to us, and which in many ways we have continued to use it. It was like a pyramid,
Yes.
So many people at the bottom, and then we go sieving them, so that we can have very few at the end of the day, because the elite must be few.
Exactly.
So, Yeah, but then you have another model that says, hey, everybody can get whatever they want, however they want. So it actually depends on the key objective, the key political objective of education. So those are questions that are very critical and that need to be addressed, so that are we still using a system that says not everybody is good for university, or are we saying because we only have got this number of university seats, we must make sure that only that number gets the grades for university, so that we don't look like we have failed? Because you will know that many times we have children here who don't make it to campus. When they go abroad, they top their classes. I mean, it's the same course. And sometimes we don't stop to think, okay, what is going on? Have they suddenly become clever? So that's why I'm saying we are getting to the political side of education, and usually a nation, a people always have to decide, what is it they want to do with this education? And of course, education is a responsibility of the national government. So they also always have to think, are we able to provide? How much are we able to provide? What are we able to do?
Yeah.
So it's a very complex discussion, that one, but one that needs people to engage,
I was listening.
very deeply.
I was watching a video. I don't know whether it was from Malawi or what. They were having a conversation about education, and this educationist was saying we must recognize that when the colonialist came and gave us an education system, it was meant to teach us to remember what we were told, and not necessarily to learn and to think independently as a people. Because if we learned and thought independently as a people, that would have been a threat to their colonial oversight of us as a people. But I find it interesting that we picked it up and we've continued with it. And the fruits can be seen. We
idolized it.
Yes, the fruits can be seen. Some of us are the colonialists in this country.
Yeah. And we colonialists don't take our children through that system.
Through that system,
because we know.
Exactly.
Because we know. Listen, Pastor James.
Yeah.
Maths is maths. English is English. Science is science. It doesn't matter whether you're in Kenya, you're in America, or you're in Britain.
Yeah.
Now, where people now as a nation or as a society need to think critically is like in the social studies. You want your children to know your history, your geography, and stuff like that. But truly, there is a lot of rethinking needed there that will free people from feeling like they can't think beyond.
Yes.
Because I tell you, at the end of the tunnel, it is not about which education system you went through. It's about the competencies, the skills, the attitude, the knowledge that you have acquired that puts you in a place where you can function, you can create, you can lead, you can function as an adult.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So earlier on, we had talked about parents and having a voice. I'm just wondering, how do parents then get to a place where they make their voice heard? What do parents need to do?
I think parents are in education, you would say, at the grassroots. They are, many parents are in schools.
Yeah.
So at that level, they have parent associations. I mean, they have places where they can discuss what they want to do. And many times it will be possible to do those things because they are not in contravention with the Education Act in terms of how the children are being educated.
Yeah.
Then, of course, there is the Parents Association, in this country. So parents can actually, and they are very accessible. So parents can call out a discussion at that level. And that is a very good level because, when you have an association, you have a bigger voice. You are a recognized entity.
Yes.
So parents need to find fora to just air their views and to ask their questions. And not so much to sit there and wait to be told, but to engage and say, this is what I'm seeing. Why can't we have this, and things like that.
And I think that's very important because I think for me, one of the things that's become very clear during this season is that there are actually different ways to do education. I think sometimes we get so stuck in one way of doing things, we think there's no other way. You know, I'm having conversations with different parents all over the place, and it's interesting. There are those who have seen the light, like the person who sent the SMS and said, you know what, we are not taking them back to school. We have realized there's a better option, which, by the way, is also cheaper. I don't know what you think about the whole thing about the cost of education. Being somebody who runs a school and you've had to switch to the digital platform as well, what do you think about the cost of education?
Yeah, you see, the cost of education, those are the variables now, you know. When I have to pay for the property, you know, the overheads, there are all those hidden overheads.
Yes.
I mean, like, when let's say we have to give meals at school, then we have the cooks, we have the cleaners, we have the what. But you see, every home also has got those systems in place.
Yes, yes.
So the minute the child has to go for break and the break is in the kitchen, I mean, they pick it from the house. Those are costs. I mean, there are so many costs that would actually just be deleted from the education platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot would shift. A lot would shift. Yes.
Kingston, thank you for your SMS this morning. You say you love the conversation, and you say the challenge is our mindsets. We need to engage if we have to make a difference in the education for our children. I so agree with that, Kingston. Thank you so much for tuning in. Giving you an opportunity to ask your questions. I thought tulisikizana last week. Don't wait until 5 minutes. 5 minutes to 9. And then you send me 56 questions. And then after 9 you say, Pasi au kuuliza swali yangu, ask your question now. Share your thoughts. That's the other thing. That's the other thing. That's the other culture that as Kenyans we need to break. We don't speak. We murmur in our rooms. But then when we have the
It's how we were schooled, Pastor James. It's how we were schooled.
We need to change it. It's
we
not
were
good.
schooled to sit down and listen to the expert. And if the expert says this, you know, you'll take a long time to say, you know, explain it further, or I don't agree.
Yeah, especially that I don't agree. It seems like you're rebelling.
Yeah.
Parenting Tuesday, hanging out with Tabitha Ogango. We are talking about the future of education in this country, inviting your thoughts and your questions on 20316 for SMS, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. A comment coming through here says, we are liberated. Re-education. Now we have to have digital schools. Even the hustle in the morning, the fuel cost, the high school fees. We have to rethink this way we have been stuck to for such a long time. I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that one. There's one here that says, good morning. I would like to ask the guest on her take on specialization of subjects taught in school at an early age. Is it wise, or should the child be all-rounded and learn even those subjects we feel are irrelevant, like chemistry? Where mzazi inaonekana kuwa unapenda chemistry. Tabitha, what do you think about that one?
All right. I mean, I'm still very excited about what parents are experiencing.
Yes.
You know, just loving the no hustle in the morning and all that. And I can assure you, I mean, the children are very happy when we meet them digitally. We can see that. But now let's, you know, the whole issue of early specialization, right? We must realize that there's what we call a basic education. And I think in the primary school years, it is important for the children to be exposed to everything.
Yes.
Primary school years, you know, everything, you know, because that is the point at which they are developing, you know, banking knowledge, getting to appreciate the different disciplines, and a little bit of thorough grasp as they get to the upper primary levels.
Yeah.
But when the children now get into high school, it is very important that by that time, you know, it's my son who is a soccer person, tells me that if somebody by 14 doesn't know their purpose or what they were created for, then what a pity.
Wow.
You know, and he can only say that because through his basic education, he had the opportunity to try out this music, try out Ligindogo, and then find, oh my goodness, this is it.
Yeah.
So by the time he's into teenage, I mean, it's very clear where he's headed, you know. So even if he's top in maths and even if he's top in his science, he knows that this is what I was created to do.
Yeah.
So let me say that even the specialization and the new curriculum seems to have addressed that, so that in the later secondary years, children will already have decided, are they arts, are they sports, are they into the STEM and stuff like that? Because as an educator, you know, maths has got a place, but there are some concepts in maths that we all don't need.
Yeah.
You know, unless we are going into those professional areas. So even when you talk about chemistry, we have curriculum that will not force you to do chemistry, but a science is important. And usually it is the biology, the human science, you know, just learning how your body works and all that. That is considered a basic science that everybody needs to have, you know, some good grasp. You know, so I would say, room for some specialization in the later secondary years is very important. And our new curriculum, our new public curriculum has appreciated that.
Okay.
Previously, there are schools that insisted that physics was compulsory.
Yes.
You know, and for some, that just did a lot of harm to the mean grade of some children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the whole digital e-learning aspect, because we have been pushed into that space. Whether we were ready or not, it did not matter. We were pushed in that space and we had to do with what we have. Do you see that becoming the new normal, even post-corona? Do you think that is something that will stay with us and it will become the new normal where education is concerned?
Yes, I think that digital education is going to find an acceptable place in this nation and in the world, a respected place, I would say, because it's been here for a while. But then even the colleges that started doing it a few years ago had issues. You know, the government would tell them, no, this thing is substandard and all that. Yeah. But now, it's like, okay, it can actually work. And some of the big colleges abroad have always had a digital education platform where, you have some hours maybe in school, but most of it done digitally. Yeah. So I see that digital education is here to stay. But I must say that because of the issue of access to the gadgets, access to electricity, access to internet, it may not be the case for everybody, so there will definitely be room for growth in this area and for allowing the access as it goes. Yeah. But then there will still be a segment of the population, just because of their socioeconomic setup, that may not be able to get the full benefits of it. But going forward, it is the way to go. It is the way to go.
It is the way to go.
Yes.
Would you say there? Because I'm trying to think about this whole digital thing, and is it something that would be beneficial to our children? Because I've seen some children struggle in the sense that their attention span, especially the younger ones, sitting in front of a computer or looking at the phone for more than an hour becomes an issue. Yet I've seen others who, it's like this has been an answer to prayer for them. In fact, now they are thriving even more than when they were in a physical class. So how do we navigate through all these disparities, and how do we help our children?
I've had a similar experience that you're sharing there. Some children just got into it like this is what they always needed and have done so much better. Yeah. Some children actually that we had put on the digital program, we had to put back on paper.
Wow.
Mainly paper curriculum, and then just, overforward and stuff like that, guide them through, and they were happier. So again, I think I must bring up the issue that of the individualized approach for education. There is no one size fits all. There will be where the majority can fit, but there will always be others who need something else. And let's say for the younger ones, I mean, really, you can't have an hour's class with the younger children. So the whole issue is basically how do you work out the timings? How long is a lesson? I mean, like the babies, 15, 20 minutes, then you give them something to do. Then come back later, so that you're not keeping them there for so long. And that, I mean, even in my case, has worked very well. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say over maybe 8.5, children have done so much better than they were doing when we were in the physical school.
Wow, that's interesting. I think sometimes, one of the things we don't recognize is our children have been born into a digital space. My friend says you are either BC or AC, before computers or after computers. So for those of us who are born before the computers, it became something that we added onto our lives. We still think TV. We still think TV inafunguliwa saa 11 inaisha. That's how we grew up. That's what we know. But our children have been brought up they've been born into a digital space, so much so that you give your 1-year-old your phone and they know your password and they know how to play the game. I mean, this is second nature to them. And so for me, my thoughts are, if we don't capitalize on it, if we have to take them through what we went through, is it really the right thing for them? Could it be that they
we
learn
can't use the
differently?
tools. Yeah, we can't use the tools of yesterday on today's child and to prepare them for tomorrow.
Exactly.
These are digital natives. In my own experience, by the way, the parents struggled more with the transition than the children.
Exactly. Yes.
And I found myself having to tell parents, just back off. Once you've put that whatever on, and and you can see me in class, just leave the children with me. And for many of the children, that became a very liberating experience. And these children are digital natives. Really.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
If it was up to you, Tabitha, thinking about the future of education in this country, seeing how the COVID-19 has changed so many things, we've had to adapt, we've had to discover, not necessarily discover, the options were there, but we hadn't even considered them. But when COVID hit and they became like the only options, we realized, it can actually work. So I'm just wondering, being somebody who's passionate about education, if it was up to you to steer the way forward for education in this station, what are some key thoughts you would share with us today?
Well, you can be sure I've thought about that a lot.
Yes, I know.
And education is basically about, the acquisition of knowledge, skills, competencies, and attitudes. That's what we are trying to pass on. So one of the things that I would do is to liberalize the education sector.
Fafanua.
Fafanua.
Yeah.
I would allow families and communities to educate their children in the way they feel or they see as right. Some involvement from that level that says, look, we're a pastoralist community, and I could be wrong, but why has Northern Kenya remained the way it is this far?
Yeah.
It's because we take the pastoralist children who are intelligent, we bring them out this way, we change their culture, and when they grow up, they are not useful to where they came from.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So they want to give a solution from here, but you see that community needs to continue existing, with solutions that are authentic, so to speak. So one of the things I would do is to say, come on, what is it that would keep this community values with these children so that they begin to create solutions? They have gone through these issues. What kind of solutions would they create for those who are coming after them?
Yeah.
But in terms of the basic knowledge, I said maths, English, the core subjects, I would make sure that is going on. That is where I would put my hands on, because those are, global.
Yes.
And then instead of insisting on a unified exam, for example, for everybody, I would do, again, I'm borrowing from my music education background, where we have got the Royal Board exams. And it doesn't matter when you learned, how long you learned, who taught you. When you're ready, you sign up for the exam. You take the exam, and it doesn't matter whether you took it when you were 10, when you were 20, when you're 30.
Wow.
It is a scholastic aptitude test.
Yes.
And at that point, my thinking is that we would be going into appreciating what learning is, as opposed to being so concerned about measuring learning. And then at the end of the tunnel, we find, the learning we thought should happen would not have happened, hasn't happened. And so what do we do? So for me, it is just the whole issue of appreciating that education can be done differently. And much as maybe I would say I want to have control, I would keep my control on the key knowledge bases, or the key attitudes, the key competencies, and open the space up so that we have got more success. I mean, I have always struggled when we have got all those children do KCSE, and every year about 90-80% we declare them failures. And I'm thinking, an investment of 8 + 4 years, we are saying that whole budget, we have produced failures, and then the whole nation celebrates. I actually, as an educator, I have a problem with that.
Wow. Listen to this comment from Teresa in Kisumu. She says, I'm a parent in Kisumu, and I have learned that children do not need to wake up at 3 a.m., to be picked up at 4 a.m., to sit in the bus going round to reach school at 7:30. My child can wake up at 8. We start lessons at 9. And we cover a lot, even with breaks in between. That is what I call a eureka moment.
True. But let me also add, because of the parent who said high school and the issue of teachers.
Yes.
Parents have also realized that teaching is a profession.
It is.
And there is what a trained teacher will do that you as a parent will not do, because this is a profession. And so, even as we appreciate the parents' part, we need to continue to remember that we are always going to need teachers, but in what set and in what way are we going to need them?
Very true.
Yes.
Tabitha, my time is almost up. You have 1 minute for a parting shot.
Yeah.
Parting shot na utume salamu.
Salamu niliambia watu wote wanataka kuniona. I told them early to tune in.
Okay.
But parting shot is that I would appeal to every Kenyan parent, every Kenyan family, not to buy into the thinking that children can sit and wait for January or March or September next year because of a virus.
Yeah.
I really want to just tell parents that it is not the government's responsibility entirely to keep your child learning. A lot of parents have done some savings by not paying fees in March, not paying fees.
Yes.
You can get something going. But then I would also say, please be sure that what you're signing up to as a digital education is really what you're getting. In terms of the accreditation, in terms of what the output would be, but all of it should be based on what's your goal. Yeah. What do you want for your child in this period when schools are closed? If you're intending to take them back to school, if you don't intend to take them back to school, get a system that will take them all the way to the end. And Pastor James, allow me to say something to the parents of children of class 8.
Yes.
I am making a personal appeal. There is no reason why a class 8 child who has got a parent who can afford to pay for a curriculum that can take this child to Form 4 should be seated waiting for an exam. I would want them to rethink that.
Wow. That is a food for thought there. Tabitha, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Thank you for your insight. We truly appreciate it. May God bless you.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Salimia Kingston and the boys. Tell them we love them.
Ndiyo, nitawasalimia.
Awesome. Our time is up.
Amen.
Mzazi, I hope you've been able to get something from this conversation. I pray that the gears are turning, because we must think ahead. we must think what is right and what is best for our children. As parents, tuko na kibarua. Like I said last week, it's like God has taken out what we were using to support ourselves. Sunday school teacher ameambiwa, we kaa kwa bench. Mwalimu kwa klasi ameambiwa, hata wewe kaa kwa bench. Mzazi umeambiwa, haya, shika usukani. The child is yours. What are you going to do with this child? And I think it's a wake-up call for us, but I think it's also a great opportunity for us to steer our children. Bible says that we should teach them the way that they should go, and when they're older, they will not depart from it. It's our responsibility. So let's keep having these conversations. Tuendelee kuchanuana. Hata mahali hakuna nywele, tutachanua tu mpaka nywele imee, because we have to do something.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.